You've just transferred the house deposit to your daughter. After you're gone, she's asked whether it was really hers. She has the house keys, the money left your account to help her buy. Everyone knew why it was sent. Then your executors open their estate papers, and that £80,000 transfer appears on the bank statement. One child says, Mum meant that as a gift. Another says, no, she said it would be sorted out later. And your daughter, who thought the deposit was settled, is now being asked whether she has to repay it, have it taken off her inheritance, or keep it outside the estate altogether. You talked about it as a family and nobody objected. The money was sent for a clear purpose. It helped your daughter buy a home. But after death, a family understanding has to become evidence. That same £80,000 transfer can sit under three very different labels: gift, loan, advance against inheritance. The transfer is the same, the consequences aren't. The bank of mum and dad helping their children buy a property happens a lot, and I see this issue occur more often than it should. In this example, Linda was in her late 60s, recently retired, and had three adult children. Her daughter, Emma, was trying to buy a small terrace in Leeds. The mortgage offer was moving, completion was close, and the missing piece was the deposit. Linda transferred 80,000 from her savings. The bank reference said Emma deposit. There were a few WhatsApp messages in the family chat, Emma saying thank you, Linda saying she wanted to help her get started, with one sibling saying it was good news and another saying they hoped things would be fair later. At the time, that was probably enough, or that's what they felt was probably enough. The lender's paperwork focused on where the deposit came from and whether Emma could afford the mortgage. Linda wasn't trying to create a dispute, Emma wasn't hiding the payment, and the family knew the money had moved. But there was no signed loan note, no gift letter, no wording in Linda's will how it should be treated, and no separate letter telling the executors what Linda wanted done with £80,000 if she died before everything had been evened up. Linda died about 18 months later. At that point, the tone around the transfer changed. The executors were preparing the estate account. They could see money had left Linda's account. The siblings could see the same outgoing payment. Emma could see the same bank reference, but each person was reading a different meaning into it. If it was a gift, Emma may keep it without it being brought back into the state balance, subject to the wider inheritance tax and the state reporting position. If it was a loan, the state may have a debt owed to it. If it was an advance against inheritance, Emma may not repay cash, but her share of the estate may be adjusted. Emma had the keys, but suddenly she had to defend whether the deposit was even ever hers. That's a hard position for a daughter to be in. She's grieving, she's living in the home, the deposit helped her buy, and now the family conversations move from mum wanted to help to show us how this should be treated. Nobody has to be acting badly for that to happen. The executors have a job to do. The siblings are looking at fairness. Emma is relying on what she remembers her mum saying. But Linda's voice isn't available anymore, so the records start doing the work. When I review estate administration files involving lifetime transfers, one of the first thing I look for is the evidence that tells the executor how the money was meant to be treated. After a parent dies, the meaning of a house deposit is decided less by family memory and more by the records that show whether it was intended as a gift, a debt, or an advance from the state. With Linda's transfer, the bank statement proves one thing very clearly: money actually moved. It shows the date, it shows the amount, it may show the reference, it may tie into the mortgage file, but a bank reference saying Emma deposit doesn't necessarily tell the executors how to treat that money after Linda's death. That's the missing piece. A mortgage lender may have asked for confirmation that the money wasn't repayable because lenders often want to understand the source of a buyer's deposit and whether there's any undisclosed borrowing. But lender paperwork isn't always written with the later estate account in mind. It may help, it may not settle a dispute though. HMRC can become relevant as well, especially where the estate has to report lifetime transfers. The date, the amount, and the nature of the transfer may all matter, but tax reporting is only as clear as the evidence behind the payment. So place Linda's 80,000 under the first card gift. If it was a completed gift, the record should make clear that Linda didn't expect repayment. Ideally, the wording would say the money was given to Emma, there was no obligation to repay it, and how Linda wanted it treated in relation to her other children. That doesn't remove any tax or estate issue automatically, but it gives the executor something firm and clear to rely on. Now move the same transfer under the second card, loan. If Linda expected repayment, even informally, the estate may need to treat the money as an asset owed back to it. A signed loan note, repayment terms, messages about paying it back, or entries in Linda's papers can become important. Without that, Emma may say, Mum never wanted this repaid. A sibling may say, she told us it was only until Emma was settled. The executor is then caught between memory and paperwork. Now move the transfer under the third card, advance against inheritance. This is the version families often feel they've dealt with emotionally but haven't dealt with on paper. Linda may have meant, I'll help Emma now and I'll make sure that others are treated fairly later, which is a sensible family intention. But if the will doesn't say how lifetime gifts or advances should be brought into account, the executors may not have a clean instruction for adjusting shares. A letter of wishes may help depending on how it's written and how the will is structured, but it needs to line up with the rest of the estate papers. Otherwise, everyone is left reconstructing Linda's intention from fragments: a bank transfer, family chat on WhatsApp, a lender form, memory from the kitchen table, and each fragment may be honest, but fragments don't always point in the same and clear direction. If you've sent deposit money, promised it, or received it, 3 checks make the position much clearer before your family has to rely on memory. Number 1, trace the money. You want the bank transfer, the date, the amount, the mortgage file, and the stated purpose to join up. In Linda's file, the 80,000 outgoing and the mortgage completion things made it clear the money was connected to Emma's purchase. But tracing the money only shows the route. It doesn't prove the treatment. The test here, what does the bank transfer, mortgage file, or signed note show about repayment? If the answer is it was for the deposit, that may be too thin, not clear enough. And it does tell you why the money moved. It doesn't always tell you whether it should come back. Number 2, record the intention. This is the part families often leave to conversation. A gift should say it's a gift. A loan should say it's a loan with the repayment terms. An inheritance advance should say how it's meant to be taken into account later. The written record doesn't have to be dramatic. It needs to be clear, signed where appropriate, and kept somewhere that executors can actually find it. The test here is there a written record saying gift, loan, or advance against inheritance? For Linda, this was the weak point. There wasn't anything. There were warm messages, there were family comments, there was a bank reference, but there wasn't one clear instruction saying which card the 80,000 belonged under. Number 3, line it up with the estate papers. This is where the will, any letter of wishes, and any executor instructions need to match the decision you've made. If your will divides your estate equally between your children, but you've already given one child substantial lifetime support, the will should make clear whether that earlier help is ignored, equalised, or treated in some other way. If it doesn't, the executor may be left with an equal division clause in one hand and an undocumented lifetime transfer in the other. The test here is, would your will or letter of wishes tell executors how to treat lifetime help to one child? In Linda's position, the file had a visible money trail, but the intention record was weak, and the estate papers didn't give the executors a clear route. That's the combination that creates the strain. The money has already been spent on the home, the estate account still has to be prepared, and the family is left deciding whether fairness means leaving Emma alone, asking for repayment, or adjusting her share. For a parent helping an adult child, the order is clean. So trace the money, record the intention, line up the estate papers. Do it while everyone can still explain what they mean. Linda's help was loving and in the right place, but the record didn't carry her intention clearly enough. So Emma was left proving it from pieces after Linda had gone. If you've sent, promised, or received deposit money, put the treatment in writing and make sure the will lines up before your family has to rely on it. Record the deposit before your family needs proof.